Subscribe now.
You're looking for a good horror film, you hear there's one coming out, All Crime in America is legal for 12 hours. It's rated R. You're like, oh my god, anything can happen. The first one comes out, you watch it and think, okay. A sequel happens where you think it could finally, what you want is there, and it's like, oh, it's getting closer. It could be more violent, more gory, more horror. A third one comes around and you're like, seriously? Are these movies rated R? Let's be realistic. If you give everyone in the United States of America 12 hours to do whatever they want, things are going to get brutal. If you've watched American Psycho, you know we all have a little bit of Patrick Bateman deep down inside us. Today, the fourth in this series came out. It is a prequel. It is called The First Purge. And when you're watching the original Purge movies, you think, how could this happen? It was such a major plot hole. This one kind of explains it. It kind of feels more realistic. It's more understanding. And you begin to think, okay, if this were to happen, this is how it began. But my biggest flaw, this movie tries to be a social commentary, just like all the other ones. And it's just not the right place for it, and it's too in your face. I'm watching this movie, I'm like, you know what? There's going to be a Kendrick Lamar song coming out pretty soon. And yeah, guess what came on during the final credits? What made Night of the Living Dead such a good social commentary at the time is it wasn't trying to. It was not in your face. They made a good movie, and it sent a message. They weren't trying to send a message that resulted in a bad movie. And I'll never call a movie bad, by the way. They're doing a better job than I will ever be. Speaking of good jobs, the star of this movie, the standout, the thing that made the price of the ticket absolutely worth it, Ilan Noel, if I butcher his name, I'm so sorry. He was phenomenal. Picture Michael B. Jordan from Black Panther. Not as good, but so very close. Surrounded by bad performances. But again, he was so good, so charismatic. I'm like, that guy's awesome. If he gets a spinoff, I'll watch it. Aside from him, I cannot rename any other characters from this movie except for one that was overly cartoonish, but underutilized. You'll know. I really just want The Purge to focus on one or two characters and let them do horrible or amazing things. I don't need all this backstory of these bland characters. This is not going to be easy for me to say, but if you ever watch To Catch a Predator, you know what kind of people I'm talking about right now. If all crime in America was legal for 12 hours, there'd be horrible things going on in the streets that you would see. And that none of those horrible things have happened in The Purge. Well, this is the first one, the fourth in the series already, where you actually see some type of nudity or things along that line. And then I find out one of the most disturbing scenes was mostly a reference towards the president. And the execution of the scene, you think, what's going on here? That was kind of bland, that's kind of boring, kind of pointless. And then later on, I'm like, oh, that's why they threw it in there. And they did terrible execution. You got a president who's on his phone and on Twitter all day long, and that's the best joke you could throw his way. Sexual violence is something terrible that happens in this day and age, and it's very unfortunate. If you feel like you may be one of the people who may commit one of these crimes, please don't feel bad about it. Just go seek help. And if you're a victim, seek help as well. It's out there. I care for you. So all crime and murder is legal, and there's only one death in this movie that really stuck with me. There were some good characters who had unfortunate endings. They deserved more. But one character, they seemed very innocent, just hardworking. Their death was shown over CTV camera, which you think would take away, but it made me feel for it a little bit more. I give kudos to this death. For a certain character, you'll know when you see it. I don't have too much else to say about this movie because I don't want to spoil anything. If you love horror, please go and support it. If you like the Purge series, go ahead, watch it, enjoy it. Ultimately, IMDb gives this movie a 5.5 out of 10 stars. To me, I'm going to give it a 4, mostly for Noel's performance. It was great. The Purge movies, they had the premise, but they do not have the execution. Wes Craven would have loved this. Even the whole time watching this, I'm thinking, where's the leprechaun? Warwick Davis would have saved this movie. If I were to get a hold of the Purge franchise, if I had to make a full-length film, I'd do a few certain things. Either I would make a compilation type video, like ABC's of Death, Tales of Halloween type, an anthology, just graphic, brutal things that you would expect to see in a film like this. Number 2, I'd focus on 1, maybe 2 characters who are very Patrick Bateman-y and just let them have their fun throughout the film. Or 3, I'd make a TV series and kind of go with the first premise of just focusing on one person at certain times, doing whatever they want in graphic, gory, typical horror ways. And I know a Purge TV series is coming up after this one, which I am excited for. I haven't watched any trailers. Please give me what this horror junkie desires. I know there's millions just like me. Another thing I would change up is one of the rules in the Purge is class 4 weapons or above, so grenades, bombs above are still illegal, but yet I would still ban guns. Most of these films are just people shooting one another, and I think it'd be so much more entertaining as a horror fan or even a moviegoer to see people being limited to knives and what they can do with their hands. I think that would be true, more graphic horror, and it feels like a purge. If you told me to go purge, I'm not just going to go around shooting people. Wow, that came out so bad. But if you're a horror fan, you understand what I mean when I said all that. While I was watching this movie, by the way, throughout the most of it, I'm like, oh my gosh, let Back to the Hood. That would have made this so much more entertaining if they did a crossover with the Leprechaun. And then there was one guy towards the end where I'm like, he's wearing a Pinhead robe. Bring Pinhead into this. Hellraiser 3 meets The Purge. Ooh, that would have been great. What other horror franchise would you like to see cross over with The Purge? Go ahead, list them. I'd love to hear it. Comment down below. Please don't forget to subscribe. And one last thing. I skip trailers. I don't want to watch them. I try to avoid them for the most part, especially for movies that I want to see. And I realized, they're playing the new Halloween trailer, which I'm more excited for Halloween than I was for any Star Wars film that I can remember. And I love Star Wars. So I faked a phone call and I walked out of the theater. So a heads up, if you're avoiding trailers, there will be a Halloween one at the beginning of this. I'm sure you saw that coming. So if you want to avoid it, wait a couple minutes. Go get your popcorn then. Thank you all so much for putting up with me.